No, we are. I'm going to say 4 words. I want you to kind of yell out what comes to mind for me. Okay? So, first word. If I say the word author, first word that comes to mind.
Writes a book.
Writes a book.
I picture Dr. Seuss.
Dr. Seuss.
Dr. Seuss.
Don't give me all 4 more.
Jeff Savage. Anybody else? What do you think about when you hear the word
Steven
author?
Sarah Pilgrim. The dude who writes the Captain Order.
All right. Your next word. Storyteller.
A teacher.
A teacher.
A person who reads to the elderly.
Somebody who reads to the elderly.
Old people.
Might think of old people. Librarian. Your parents can be storytellers. Very good.
Me.
Outdoorsman.
I have no clue what that is, but I think a person that.
Well, what do you think? First word that pops in your head. Hunter.
The person who likes to spend a lot of time in the woods.
Somebody who likes to be out there in the great outdoors.
Lumberjack.
Fisherman. Lumberjack is a good one. Oh.
Tarzan.
Tarzan. All right, last one. I think you'll like it. How about a daredevil?
Ooh, I'm a daredevil.
I pictured a guy with devil horns on a skateboard.
Very good.
Oh, that movie Daredevil and me.
Daredevil and me. Anybody else? Anything when you think hear or think of when you hear the word daredevil?
The movie.
Yeah. That movie, yes, I know that movie. Evil Knievel.
Bugs Bunny.
Bugs Bunny. I think Bugs Bunny can be a daredevil. Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit something about Mr. Gary Paulsen. Gary Paulsen is all of those things. He is an author. He has written, I said, more than 175 books. No, that's what I said. He's older, so he's had some time to write those books. He is a storyteller. His books are about things he's actually done or experienced. And that's kind of a difference. Some people write books just they make up a story, but people that are storytellers, they tell you about things that they've experienced, things that they know about. Wait. He is an outdoorsman. Let me tell you a little bit about Gary Paulsen. Gary Paulsen was not a good reader. He struggled in school, and yet he has written 175 books. At the age of 14, he actually ran away from home. He moved out on his own, and he traveled the country. He joined the army, okay, and he lived off the land for a while.
He's a little old to be a daredevil.
Well, he's had some time. Let me tell you a little bit about the daredevil. Have you guys ever heard of the Iditarod?
The what?
Oh, yeah.
Who's heard of it? Who can tell me what the Iditarod
It
is?
was it's a race that in Alaska where you have to go from one town to another, follow in search of sale on a dog sled.
All right. And anybody else have any other
Yeah, I'm going with him.
guesses what you think the Iditarod could be?
It's like this big artery. It's a form of reading.
I'm actually going to let Gary Paulsen, he's going to take a minute, and I'm going to let him tell you about, you guys see the play? Is that the play?
I'm not exactly sure how I became an author. It was never something I thought I was young. I was an awful student. I flunked everything. I was a poor reader. What happened is a public librarian got me to reading. And while I was flunking school and my home life was awful, she kept me reading. Started hunting, trapping, fishing. Wound up doing that on foot when I was a kid. Forged my parents' signature and went in the Army when I was 17. The Army scored me away. I became an engineer, electronics engineer. And I was sitting there one night, and I said, I can't stand this. I just can't stand this. I'm going to go be a writer. I was broke, poor. I wrote for nothing. I just wrote. God, I love it. I just love writing. The Iditarod is a unique experience. It's not what people think at all. You enter a state of primitive exaltation. It dispelled all the things I thought that were important. It's the same with sailing, and it's the same with wilderness. You can be the most popular person in the world, bear will still eat your head. Grizzlies still kill you. What I love is the honesty of young people. They'll tell you if they don't like a book. For young people, I tell them to read like a wolf eats. Read when they tell you not to read, and read what they tell you not to read.
bungee jumping? I'm going to show you about an old form of daredevil. See? This is called What Were They Thinking?
George Dukakis, Greek philosopher, is bidding farewell to his friends. The barrel is of oak with a steel lining which he designed himself, especially for his fatal plunge. All is ready, and now he's taking his last ride on his way to the rapids. The swift waters are turning the barrel over and over. The current takes it, irresistibly and definitely. There is no turning back. There seems to be a deadly purpose to the swift, sure journey of the doomed man. The mighty falls are reaching out. Closer and closer he comes to the brink of the cataract. A long moment, and he's over. The ride of death. While the waterfall sings a dirge over its unhappy victim. The barrel is caught on the rocks below, and the oxygen gives out. George has gone to the Olympus of his ancestors. Only the turtle is alive, 105 years old, doomed to live, as his master was doomed to die.
Alright, so what happened in that video?
He died. Some guy died.
Why?
Being stupid. He got in a barrel in one of the waterfalls.
He was in a barrel with water, with enough air for 3 hours.
The new view of the market, you couldn't see an investment opportunity.
Yeah.
This was one example of somebody going over Niagara Falls in a barrel. Now, Gary Paulsen, he went to the movies and he saw this on the newsreel. And what's the key point here? What happened to this man?
He died.
He died. He didn't make it. So Gary Paulsen, he's going to tell you a little bit about what he did in his book. Give you a little snippet. He lived in a town where there was a 12-foot fall. And so he said, after watching one of these newsreels, I found an old wooden pickle barrel with oak staves, and after carefully reinforcing it by wrapping it with 200 feet of clothesline and miles of electrical tape, that's what they used before duct tape, I lined the inside of it with an old quilt, set it on the bank near the top of the spillway, climbed in the barrel, wedged the lid in place over my head, and threw myself back and forth until the barrel wobbled off the bank. So for Do Not Attempt at Home, that's what this book is absolutely about. It's about not attempting this crazy stuff at home. Who's this book about? It's about Gary Paulsen and his friends. And what is it? It's true stories about crazy stunts that they actually did, including putting himself in a pickle barrel and attempting to go over the 12-foot falls in his town. Just a few of the things. If you look through this book, they're going to tell you about their county fairs. They used to have something that was called the Circle of Death.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
What did you think? Because I'm curious if you thought what I thought.
I just noticed that one thing.
Yes, that's exactly what I thought. And I said, all right, so the guys are going to ride their little motorcycles, probably fall off. You read the book, let me tell you, the Circle of Death back then, they put a bear with a muzzle in the middle of a wrestling ring. And if you can last in the ring for a minute, you get $25. That's a lot of money back then. Cost you a nickel to go in the ring. One of his friends is crazy enough to go in there. It's a really funny book, and I don't think my video is finished. So we're gonna. So I came here to tell you why should you read this book. I'm telling you, you might pee your pants from laughing so hard. You're actually learning a thing or two about what you should not do in your free time. It goes back to that saying, do not try this at home. And the best part is about kids that are your age. It's about the stupid stunts that these 12 and 13-year-old boys did. And the reason they did it was to impress the league. It's really fun. And I will say, if this book does not sound like something you want to read, there's some other books that he's written that you might like. Hatchet's all about the outdoors, about survival. Lawn Boy follows a kid, trying to get some money. This one's, Lawn Boy is really funny.
What's the name of that book?
This one is How Angel Peterson Got His Name.
I'm gonna read that one.
Notes from the Dog. If you ever want to think about what your dog's thinking, you might want to read this one. And Liar, Liar. So if this one doesn't look interesting, these are some other great titles that you could check out. I actually purchased a couple of these, so I was going to leave them. And I know you guys have book reports leave them with Mrs. Dunn and Mr. Emerson. And you have all summer if you want to read through this one and do a little book report. I'd love to hear what you think about it. Any questions about Mr. Gary Paulsen or how Angel Peterson got his name?
Did you see that guy? Can you believe he broke the speed record on skis?
I could do that. What could go wrong?
A long time ago, you said it wouldn't be so. Past in the past, and you better run faster.
What could go wrong?